Okay, so this is going to be chapter 2 in terms of dimensionality. So dimensionality is actually a concept coming from socionics. And a basic overview of what it means is the function that we are the strongest at, and then the functions that we are the weakest at. And the 4D functions are basically our strong functions, while the 1D is the weakest one. And you can see where those level plays out within this chart here, where you can compare your own functions to what level they are. So let's use the INTJ as an example. So 4D functions for the INTJs are NI and TI. This means that this is above normal and even above average, above greatness level. This is where their genius lies. This is where their superpower, or they have an incredible ability compared to everyone else, the 4D functions. The 3D is above normal and are actually quite good as well. This is not quite the genius level yet, or one of the superpower that you would use, but it is quite acceptable and is above average. This is still extremely good usage, the 3D functions of TE and NE for the INTJ. Then finally, the 2D is normal level usage. This is just meeting society standard expectation of your functions. So this is the FI and SI for the INTJ. And then finally, the 1D is the weakest. This is the place of insecurity, and this is the place of further development that is needed. And this is where you fail to actually meet normal expectation from society in terms of your function. So let's go into the functions a bit, chapter 3 here. So just a recap on Jungian version of functions is extroversion versus introversion. Now, extroversion could be viewed as being more focused on the external world, being more objective based, and introversion could be focused more on the internal world, subjective based. Then thinking versus feeling, where thinking can be considered more object orientated, and people orientated could be considered feeling. And then we have intuition versus sensing, where intuition could mean repressing the senses, hear, touch, sound, etc., your sensory cortex, your sensory organs. And then sensing could be actually valuing, actually paying attention and using more of your sensory organs, sensory cortex. Again, the 5 senses. Perception versus judgment. So a good way to explain perception versus judgment is that right now you're perceiving the information I say to you. That is your perception. You're taking the information as it is, and then you're judging the information. You're deciding whether, for example, I'm saying it's true or false, T, or whether you like it or not, F, and that is a judgment. So perception comes first, information process in, and then finally you decide on that information is judgment. Extroverted feeling. Now, extroverted feeling has a lot of mirror neurons within that region of the brain, and is responsible for imagining how a social situation would play out. For example, if I do X to a person, how would they most likely react? FE is very good at playing these information out, and this helps in social situations. Introverted feeling is more internal based in terms of personal likes, and this is actually based on your memories in terms of pain versus pleasure. But simply, this is likes and dislikes. Now, extroverted thinking is more of deciding how things will play out in the external world. This can be conceived as cause and effect, such as strategies, and let's say if I do X in the external world, what will most likely happen afterwards? This could be in a business setting, or like a game setting, like real-time strategy, and etc. Introverted thinking, TI, could be the same as extroverted thinking, but more on an internal level. This is where math is a good example, where X has to equal to Y and has to correlate and make sense. And this is more TI. They're able to handle more complex formula, cause and effect thinking, and deductions than, let's say, TE in the external world. And then extroverted intuition is information that are coming from the memory or the past experiences, but instead of, let's say, remembering just one memory, you are going through multiple memories recall within a short duration of time. So let's say I'm talking about the word car right now to you, and you have NE, which we all do. Then there's going to be a word or visuals recall in your mind using the word car as a primer. Whatever comes up in your head, it can be considered NE. But the difference between NE versus the rest of the perception function is that those recall ability within your head is activating at a more rapid rate. You'll be thinking about multiple things at once, and sometimes it could be feeling like you're thinking at 4 or 3 thoughts at a single time. This is also related strongly to ADD or ADHD. Introvert intuition is very similar to NE, except for the fact that it doesn't just it's less sporadic in the sense that the idea generation within your head, A, does not need external stimulation as much. NE is more extroverted, therefore it needs more physical stimulation to trigger the internal stimulation. They need more primer. Now for NI is actually more focus. The information that's being brought up via NI is being focused on a specific subject. For example, if I'm thinking about the word car, then my memories are not going to be as sporadic as NE, thinking about maybe things that are off topic from the car, but rather those memories are going to come within some framework or similarity to the word car, like my first car, the car my parents drove, the car my friends drove, the mechanic of a car, the theory of how cars work. Like, it's very related to the topic that I'm focusing on. Both of these, NE and NI, are abstract. They are from the past experience, and we'll understand this a bit more as we go and talk about extroverted sensing, SE. So SE is very focused on the moment. If you're drinking a coffee cup right now, you're drinking from a coffee cup right now, you're going to notice the 5 senses in terms of, let's say, the taste buds receptors, your audio receptor, your touch receptors, and your olfactory or smell receptors, and of course your visual sight of that coffee cup. And instead of thinking about the past as much in terms of, let's say, coffee cups that you remember from the past, or drinking coffee from the past like SI would, for example, you're going to be focused more in the moment. How does it actually taste in this very moment? How does it feel against your hand and your touch receptor in this moment? Now, SI is going to be thinking more of the past. It's going to be a higher type of past experience recall and then the intuition of NI and NE. Because those with higher SI, let's say ISFJ, ISTJ, also have pretty good and decent extroverted sensing SE. So their ability to recall these information is at a higher quality bit rate than the intuitive counterpart. They are able to remember, let's say, drinking a coffee cup right now, noticing that it's slightly colder than the McDonald's coffee cup they got yesterday. And they can remember in detail of those sensory information, let's say from SE, than the counterpart to N9 and NE, usually having less quality for memory. You can actually test this out by asking your sensing type friends about their past memories, and usually they'll be able to recall those information at a higher quality than, for example, asking an intuitive about past experiences, where their recall will be less detailed and more vague. Okay, so this summarized dimensionality and functions, so we're going to move on to the theoretical sides. How all of these actually fit into application in the real world, and how certain personality types, let's say, mingle within the world. So we're going to jump right into that in the next videos here.